Well, good morning everybody. It's great to see some familiar faces and also to see some new faces, and I'll be here all day, so hopefully I'll get the chance to find out what's happening within your own local authorities. So I'm delighted to be here this morning to share with you our new offer around about transformation. And I should say from the outset that we very much want to co-design this with all of you in the room, hence why we've got some of the breakout sessions later on. This has kind of emerged out of probably 6 to 8 months worth of really thinking about our offer, the work that we do, how we could extend the support. You may be aware we have an account management service within the improvement service, where one of our management team is an account manager for all the different councils. And through that, as you can probably imagine, transformation is very much at the forefront of senior management teams. And I guess there was an ask coming in to look at, well, what more can we do to provide support and to add value to the work that you're doing within local authorities. I also had the pleasure of co-hosting a roundtable on transformation with Audit Scotland earlier this year. And I think there were some questions about, well, what do we actually mean by transformation? So 7 years on from Christie, are we clear what we mean by transformation? Do we have an end vision in mind of what transformation might look like? Or are we still really in the realms of change management? So we're looking at how we can improve services, but maybe not looking at how we can radically rethink and redesign them. So what I suppose we're hoping for today is I'm going to run through some of the context for why we're doing what we're doing, run through the various themes, some areas that we're already working on together and with colleagues in the room. This is all about your ideas, your thoughts, and what you would like out of this programme going forward, the support you would like from each other as a community, and the support you would like from the improvement service. So, in terms of transformation, we spent a bit of the Audit Scotland roundtable looking at what we actually meant by transformation. And we had probably about a half-hour discussion of the differences between transformation, change management, improvement. So in preparation for today, I thought I would remind myself of some of that discussion and kind of look at what we kind of concluded through the Audit Scotland roundtable were some of the key ingredients of transformation as opposed to change management. And I think a key one we did all agree on at that roundtable was it isn't about improving, it's actually about rethinking, reimagining, looking at completely different ways to do things rather than just looking at how we can improve processes or maybe slightly improve the way we do things. For us, it was about transformation, meaning going beyond your form, so it's actually doing things completely differently, shaking things up. I think we all reflected in the fact it's often more about unlearning than learning. I know I've probably got a lot of bad habits. So as well as learning new things, there's probably a lot of bad habits and ways of doing things that I've always done that I also need to learn how to unlearn. So we definitely think that's a key aspect of transformation. Another key point, and particularly for some of the work I've been involved in, is about taking the desire to change, the determination to actually start and get going, and I think the dedication to continue. I mean, I don't know, over the years I've been working in local government, there's been a number of new initiatives that have emerged, and just as you feel you're maybe getting to a point where it's starting to make an impact, something new comes because the pace hasn't moved at the rate that the people that put the project in place wanted it to move at. So for me, there's certainly something round about transformation, about actually sticking with it, and in some cases it's a bit of a hard slog. You need to roll your sleeves up and keep going and be given the opportunity to keep going. There's also something about what good is an idea if it remains an idea. So how do we try? How do we have the environment where we can experiment, we can fail, we can try again? And I think that'll be really important through the work that we're trying to do through this programme, is have we got some new ideas amongst us that we think it would be good to test out, recognising that it might not quite go to plan, but to learn from that. I think for me, real transformation requires real honesty, and I think there'll be a lot of difficult conversations that will be needed as we deal with the challenges that we're facing across the sector. I suppose finally the one for all of us is just be the change you wish to see in the world. So in terms of context for transformation, we've got a whole raft of legislation that we're all working in. So we have the Community Empowerment Act, whereby there's responsibilities and duties now on councils working with their partners to look at how we empower communities. We've got local outcome improvement plans, which set out the priority outcomes partnerships will be looking to deliver. We have locality plans which are targeted at those most disadvantaged within our communities to look at how we can tackle inequality. We've got the Fairer Scotland duty, which places duties on councils and other public bodies to look at how they're tackling socio-economic inequalities. The Public Bodies Joint Working Act, which very much sets the context for integration. And if anybody's seen the recent Audit Scotland report on health and social care integration, there's clearly a lot of work according to that report that needs to be taken forward in terms of looking at how we support health and social care partnerships and integration joint boards to really transform the services for the people that they serve. And then we've got the Islands Act. So there's a whole raft of legislation that very much will be influencing what we're looking at in terms of transformation. We've also got a range of policy, so there's a whole pile of work happening in education around about empowerment and engagement, schools get more responsibilities, the whole early learning and childcare expansion programme, which is due to be delivered by 2020. We've got the local governance review underway, there's a place principle recently being launched by COSLA and Scottish Government. We've got the whole public health reform agenda, which is being jointly led by Scottish Government and COSLA, and local authorities have a real role to play there. Inclusive growth, city, regional, island deals. So there's a whole raft of different policy that we're working in, and I think within that environment we're also all grappling with the whole regional and local agenda. So a lot of what's happening around about the policy world is now looking at how we can have regional growth deals, regional improvement collaboratives. So how do we operate at that regional level? How do we transform services at that regional level? But equally, how do we keep the local aspects to make sure that we're actually delivering services in a way that meets the needs of our local communities? So I think that's certainly something I've been involved in various discussions about how the regional and the local fit together. Uncertainty, I'm not going to Brexit, you'll be pleased to hear. Every day you put the news on, you wonder what the latest update will be, but that really does have, I guess, real implications in terms of workforce, new trade rules, what that might mean for the costs of services, loss of EU funding, and so forth. And if we don't reach a deal and we don't have a transition period, what will that mean for local authorities? And also the uncertainty around about Scotland's new financial powers as well. Finance cost pressures, demographics and demand, I think these are common to all of us. And I suppose one of the key statistics that struck me was the projected increase in the 85 plus age group, which was by 2039, the 75 plus age group was expected to be an 85.9% increase, and by 2039 was expected to be a 131.6% increase in 85 plus. So again, thinking about if this is how our population's growing, equally our working age population's falling, so there will not be that the level of tax take that there is currently. How are we planning for our future population? What does that mean for the services we're delivering? And I think finally, certainly digital and societal changes and expectations. You keep seeing these quizzes to check if you're going to be replaced by a robot. There's also, the artificial intelligence, the automation and so on. So what does that mean for our services? When we're doing our workforce planning, what kind of council are we planning for, and how much of what we're doing will ultimately become automated? So as well as the challenges, I think this presents real opportunities, and hopefully these are the areas that we'll focus on today. So there are real opportunities to look at how we work with our partners, how we work with our communities differently to plan for the future, and very much linking what's in our plans with our whole transformation agenda, because this is really what transformation should be about, how we're improving outcomes for our communities. I think we're probably data rich and intelligence poor across the sector, with loads and loads of data. I would challenge that maybe some of the data isn't at the level that we really need it to be at to make the types of decisions we need to be. But how can we use the data that we do have to look at how we target our ever scarce resources more effectively? Real opportunities to look at how do we invest in prevention, so how do we really rethink our services? There's been some interesting work undertaken by the Robertson Trust on behalf of the charitable funders with Glasgow City Council and a charity called CR Pathways, and that was through a social bridging finance model whereby the charitable funders invested in the work that the council was doing with the charity to deliver mentoring support to pupils across schools in Glasgow. And it was on the grounds that if it was a success and there was an improvement in outcomes, that the council would mainstream the approach and actually fund it. So there are funds out there, and again, it would be worth having that discussion as the work we're doing, where we could potentially work with a charity, access some funding to almost do some of that innovation work and to do some of that test work. And if it's proved to be successful, could then be mainstreamed within councils and other public services. I think there's also opportunities to look at how we learn from our citizens, how we learn from each other, also how we learn internationally, because there's always a lot of interesting work happening abroad. Looking at how we share our skills and capacity, and an opportunity for us to really think outside the box. I was recently at a meeting with one of the deputy chief execs from a local authority who said we're all now trying to do a lot of the same things. So surely if we get everybody across Scotland together trying to do these same things, we might come up with some new ideas. So we're hoping very much that can come out of this work. And I think finally it's about developing sustainable and achievable approaches. You tend to find that those that maybe try and do change really fast and really shake things up are the ones that attract all the headlines, as opposed to people that are maybe taking a much more considered and deliberated approach to delivering transformation. So again, there's something in here about sustainability. So that was hopefully just to set the context. I thought it would be useful just to recap on what we've been doing in this area to date. So in terms of our change management programme, which Gerard ran through briefly, we've provided tailored support to 19 councils so far. All councils are now part of the Change Managers Network K-Hub group, and we're now sitting at 637 members, and we have let in members from outside Scotland and from other services, because we think that cross-organisational element is really important too. We've developed self-service tools. We have our change and BA frameworks, and I'll be really interested to get your feedback on those across the course of the day. We've delivered training to 10 councils, multiple partner agencies, and over 300 employees. Some of you may have been part of that training, be it in customer journey mapping, process mapping, benefits realisation, or process costing. And we've delivered 15 webinars, and we couldn't do that without the support of you and other colleagues. We've also organised a SOLACE masterclass in the English local government experience of transformation, and there was a lot of really useful learning there from Wigan in terms of the approach that they've been taking round about the Wigan deal. We've undertaken a couple of network surveys to look at the activity that's happening across Scotland, but also how we can use that to inform our programme. A range of research reports that we've published, and sometimes those have come about because some councils have approached us to say they're looking, for example, at volunteering. So could we do a piece of work to find out who's doing what in volunteering across Scotland and beyond? So that's very often how some of the research comes about. And we're working with Scotland Excel, supported by East Renfrewshire Council, to deliver a professional development award in project management, and we're also having further discussions with them about developing a business analysis award as well. And it might well be that there's other areas we identify today where we think there's real skills gaps, that it would be helpful to develop a qualification, I suppose, nationally as local government that can then be available to everybody. At this point, I would stress the wider IS contribution to the whole kind of change and transformation agenda. So we do have a change management team. Equally supporting change has been our organisational development team. We've got a digital services team. The self-assessment and benchmarking work that we do helps to identify areas where councils feel and partnerships feel that they need to change. And we also have a number of different programmes that are focusing on change and transformation within specific areas. So, for example, we've had an economic outcomes programme which is looking about how we can transform our economic development services, and money advice outcomes programme and so on as well. But I think we recognise that, to really take this to the next level, we need to look at how we develop our offer further. and how we work with colleagues and councils to make sure that what we're delivering is actually adding value and it isn't duplicating what's already underway. So, in terms of thinking about what our offer would look like going forward, I suppose that the ultimate principle was it needed to be focused in the areas of greatest priority to local government and partners, and outcomes and communities should be at the heart of that. So the themes that Gerard had identified earlier around about outcome-focused service, redesign, leadership, people and culture, empowerment and place, and data and business intelligence, we've been testing those out during our account management meetings to see if these are the areas where senior management teams think it would be helpful to focus our attention. And they've been landing well, but equally it'll be good to get your feedback on them too. Key that this should be co-designed with local government, it needs to meet your needs. We wanted to organise it in such a way that councils can dip in and out of it. I think we recognise everybody's at different stages, and there are some areas that some councils might want to dip in more than others, so we wanted you to have that flexibility. Very much about enabling the sharing of skills, knowledge and expertise across the local government community, and also looking at other ways of generating efficiencies through collaboration and sharing capacity. So for example, the qualifications that I've mentioned as a way of providing really cost-effective training and qualifications, and is there more work like that we can do. And we're also keen to get to a point where we can identify some champions and sponsors amongst the community to really work with us to drive the work forward and to really be the champions amongst your peers. We're keen that it builds on a baseline of transformation plans and programmes already in place. So one of the messages we've had back from account management meetings is that management teams would like to see how what they're doing compares with what other local authorities are doing, and is there something another council's doing that they've not yet thought of. So that is a piece of work that we're keen to progress. We also want to identify experts from the UK and beyond, wherever possible, to contribute. In some cases it might be through webinars. We're also looking at how we work with other public service agencies. So we've been working with the Local Government Digital Office to develop a partnership agreement which will set out how we'll both work with each other to support the transformation agenda. We're also working with Scotland Excel. We've been doing some work with the Scottish Community Development Centre around about community empowerment. We've also been working with partners in the health service as well. So we very much want to look at how can we help broker support and resources from other sectors to support local government and its partners to drive forward the local transformation. I mentioned earlier the regional and local kind of debates that are going on just now within local government. So again, we want the offer to look at, in some cases it might be support at a national level, but is there support that's needed regionally, is there support that's needed locally? Very much want to look at how can we found it in research and evidence, so if there are particular areas and challenges that you're experiencing, might it be helpful for us to do a piece of work? If there's areas that you're interested in progressing further, we could do some work to look at who's already doing work in those areas. And I suppose finally it was about how can we support delivery. So some councils have said, well, it might, if we identify some ideas, is there a way of maybe doing some tests of change, and could we potentially help with some of the evaluation and support of that? So they were the principles in which we were pulling together our offer. So just quickly, the themes that we've come up with, and again, we really welcome your feedback on these. The first one being outcome-focused service redesign, so very much looking at how we redesign our services with a focus on our people and our communities. So I've just highlighted some of the areas that have been flagged up to us by council. So there appears to be a bit of an interest again in shared services and shared capacity type work, given the financial pressures we're facing. So we're about to undertake a piece of work just to baseline what shared services, shared capacity work's happening across Scotland, and that will be available next year. Other areas we've been asked about are commercialisation, income generation, and we know that there was work undertaken by the Directors of Finance on that. Also looking at community delivery models, social enterprises, volunteering. We know in England there's been a lot of work undertaken around about volunteering, particularly in the library sector. And again, making sure that this is very much grounded in looking at the person and the communities that we're delivering those services to. And you'll see a whole row of question marks here. because we're just throwing some ideas in that we've had or that we've picked up during our discussion so far. But the workshops this afternoon, we very much want to hear your thoughts and ideas as to what you think we should be focusing on here. In terms of leadership, people and culture, we have a small organisational development team within the improvement service, and we also facilitate an OD network for councils. And I'll just embarrass Amanda Spark now, who's just going to stand up and wave. So Amanda is joining us in January as our OD programme manager. So the work that Amanda and the team do will very much be part of the support that we provide. So round about leadership, people and culture, these are areas that management teams have flagged up as needing a kind of a renewed focus for support. So there's national collective leadership offers that are in place through Workforce Scotland. So again, looking at how can we maximise the use of what's already there, but where's there potentially gaps. We run a whole elected member development programme, and I think key to the transformation work will be how do we get elected members on board, how do we support them to really make the challenging decisions that they have to make, and how can that programme support you. I've mentioned our organisational development team, but we're doing work with some councils to look at how we can help support the development of their OD capacity. Workforce planning, I think, is going to become a really big issue in terms of looking at the councils we're going to be in the future, but what kinds of workforces do we need, so what support round about there would be useful. And I think also looking across local government, looking across all councils, are there opportunities to develop collective capacity and to identify skills gaps that we know we have within our local authorities. So hopefully there'll be quite a lively discussion about that this afternoon. In terms of place and empowerment, we've been doing some work with the SCDC, looking at community empowerment within community planning partnerships. We're about to publish a report on that, but that will probably identify some areas where we think there might be opportunities to provide further support. I'll not go into the community lotteries work in any detail because that's something that Gerard's going to pick up, but I think just to flag up that came out of a meeting we had with 3 councils, where 2 of the 3 said they were looking at community lotteries. We then contacted all councils, and I think 15 or 16 came back to say they were interested. So it was very much looking at, well, what could we do to support that work rather than every council get off to develop its own business case. And again, hopefully we'll get more ideas like that today. As I mentioned, there's been the launch of a place principle. We also have the place standard, and the whole public health reform agenda is very much grounded in place. So what does that mean for how we're transforming our services? And we think that there's work to be done to learn from Wigan and other similar approaches. Finally, data and business intelligence. Really keen to get your views on this particular theme in terms of where you think the issues, the gaps, the challenges are, and where more support would be helpful. The work that we do is around about data discovery, so helping councils to identify their data requirements, looking at the different data that's available across public services and how we can work with you to maximise the use of that. Also looking at how we can support data improvement and analysis, looking at how we can support you with data matching and cleansing of your own records. The whole presentation, visualisation of data, but also how do we really use data better to really understand our communities, how do we use it to drive service improvement, how do we use it to target our resources, and so forth. So really interested to get your thoughts on that. So I suppose final words from me in terms of developing the webinar offering. You'll see here we've got post-it notes, so that's a sign of what's to come later on today, because we really want to involve and engage everybody. So we do want to co-design the offers, and we'll be using today to come up with some initial ideas. And if you think any of the ideas that we've already come up with aren't hitting the mark, then that's the opportunity to say so as well. We'll then take the learning from today to do some further refinement, potentially do a wee bit of research. We'll be doing work to undertake an overview of transformation programmes, and then working with you all, we want to develop a programme that has clear deliverables, and also a sense of which councils want to get involved in which areas of work, and then we can take that forward through kind of meetings, events and so forth. In terms of resource, we are looking at how we can resource this across the whole improvement service, so the change team will have a critical role, but in terms of our wider work, we really want to make sure we're joining that up as much as we possibly can do, so we're providing holistic support but you may be aware we also have an IS Associates framework where we have a pool of people who we've procured that can also provide support to this work as well. And I think finally, success going forward will be dependent on all of us working together. And I think there's so much we can do in terms of finding out what others are doing elsewhere, what's working internationally, but I'm sure amongst all of us in this room we've all got our own good ideas about the sorts of things we think could make a difference, and hopefully they'll emerge out of the discussions today as well.